January 7th, 2019. Chandler, Arizona. A man walks into a police station carrying a folder. Tired eyes, wrinkled shirt. The kind of exhausted that doesn't come from one bad night. It comes from months of watching something fall apart in slow motion and realizing nobody else can see it. His name is Charles Vallow. He's a successful insurance executive, 2 kids at home. One of them, JJ, has autism and the brightest smile you've ever seen. Charles is the kind of man who keeps receipts, literally. He's holding receipts, documents, voicemails, texts. He sits down with the officers, calmly, methodically, and he tells them the following sentence, which I want you to hold on to because we're going to come back to it. He tells them his wife believes she's a god, that she's preparing for the apocalypse, and that she has informed him on multiple occasions that he needs to die so she can fulfill her divine mission. The officers listen. They take notes. They are kind. And then they tell Charles the truth that is going to ripple through this entire case like a stone dropped in a pond. They tell him that being unhinged isn't technically a crime. That mental illness alone doesn't justify intervention. That until she actually does something, they can't actually do anything. He thanks them. He gathers his folder. He goes home. He's dead in 6 months. And the woman he was warning them about? She's about to become the most prolific suspected murderer of her own family in modern American memory. This is the case of Lori Vallow Daybell. Now, pull up a chair, because this isn't your standard true crime fare. This isn't evil woman snaps. This is something stranger, something that asks you to hold 2 ideas in your head at the same time and not let go of either one. Lori Vallow has a real court-documented, psychiatrically confirmed mental illness, and she carried out one of the most calculated, financially motivated, premeditated murder conspiracies of the last 20 years. Both. Simultaneously. The same brain. Forensic psychology has a name for this kind of thing, and it's the most uncomfortable conversation in the field right now. You're inside the Forensic Dossier. Subscribe. Let's open the file. Lori Noreen Cox enters the world in 1973. Loma Linda, California. Sun-bleached suburbs. Mormon family. The whole California girl with scripture on the nightstand combo. She's beautiful in that Midwestern pageant way. Symmetrical features. Big smile. Lots of teeth. She knows it. Mrs. Texas, 2004. Wheel of Fortune contestant the same year. She solves the puzzle, wins a trip. She gets married, then divorced, married, divorced. By her 30s, she's already on husband number 3. 2 children, a son named Colby, a daughter named Tylee. Tylee has her mother's smile and her own kind of fire. Sharp, theatrical, the kind of teenager who narrates her own life like she's being filmed. Husband number 4 arrives in 2006, Charles Vallow, steady, older, Texas insurance money, the kind of man who says yes ma'am to waitresses and means it. They build a life. They adopt his great-nephew, JJ, a little boy with autism who calls Charles daddy and who lights up like a stadium when his dad walks into a room. For 13 years, Lori is, by every external measure, a good mother. She makes JJ specialized meals. She drives Tylee to dance, runs the carpool, and organizes the family Christmas cards. The Vallows are the kind of family that posts the photo where everyone's wearing matching denim. This is the woman who, 6 years later, will be convicted of conspiring to murder almost everyone in that Christmas card. I want you to sit with the gap between those 2 sentences, because the central question of this entire case lives in that gap. 2018. Lori attends a religious preparedness conference in St. George, Utah. Preparedness conferences in the Mormon world cover a wide range. Some are about food storage and emergency kits, reasonable stuff. Some are not. This one is on the apocalyptic end. Translated beings, the 144,000 chosen ones. The end of days, dated and detailed. And there she meets a man named Chad Daybell. Chad is, on paper, deeply unremarkable. Middle-aged, soft-spoken, married, 5 kids. Lives in a town in eastern Idaho with 1 stoplight. He runs a small religious publishing company called Spring Creek Books. He writes, and you cannot make this up, post-apocalyptic Mormon fiction. Novels about the end times, translated beings, prophesied figures. He also claims he can see things, past lives, spiritual energy. He says he can take a person's rating, assess whether they're light or dark, whether they're in their original body or whether something else is wearing them. To most people, this would be a reason to back away slowly. To Lori, who has been raised on prophecy, who has been told her whole life that the end is coming. This is the most interesting thing she has ever heard. They start with phone calls, then podcasts together, then a private theology that exists only between the two of them. In their framework, they aren't ordinary people. They're translated beings. They have prior lives going back to biblical times. Lori is Elena, Chad is James. They have a divine mission to lead the 144,000 chosen souls through the tribulation. The clock is ticking. The end is imminent. And in this framework, every person on earth has a rating. Most are light, some are dark, and some, a small, dangerous number, aren't really people anymore. Their souls have been replaced. Their bodies are still walking around, still going to work, still saying I love you over breakfast. But what's inside them is something else. A demon, a dark entity, a zombie. Here's the part I need you to hold on to. Because in their belief system, you can't save a zombie. The original soul is already gone. The body is just a costume worn by something evil. There's only one way to release the trapped soul. You end the body. Take that in for a second. Because the next thing that happens in this story is that the people closest to Lori, her husband, her children, her boyfriend's wife, start getting raided. And the ones she rates as zombies start dying. July 11th, 2019. 6 months after Charles walked into that police station, he drives to Lori's home in Chandler to pick up JJ for school. He doesn't know it, but Lori's brother, a man named Alex Cox, is also at the house that morning. Cox is, in this story, the muscle. He believes everything Lori believes. He's been told Charles's body is hosting a demon named Ned Schneider. Yes, that's the actual name. The demonology gets specific. There's an argument. Cox shoots Charles, twice. Center mass. Cox tells the responding officers it was self-defense. Charles came at him with a baseball bat. The bat is mysteriously not in Charles's hand when police arrive. It's leaning against a wall in the next room. Cox and Lori waited 43 minutes to call 911. They used that time to wash dishes, to put away laundry, to stage the scene. Charles's $1 million life insurance policy pays out to Lori. The payments on his Social Security survivor benefits start flowing. Lori takes the kids and moves to Idaho, 1,000 miles closer to Chad. The investigation into Charles's death stays open. Cox is never charged. Lori isn't a suspect, yet. September 8th, 2019. Lori takes Tylee and JJ to Yellowstone. It's a beautiful late summer day. Tylee is 16, sun in her hair, posing on a wooden fence post for what will be the last photograph anyone ever takes of her. She's dead within 24 hours. The very next morning, GPS data places Alex Cox's phone at Chad Daybell's property in Salem, Idaho. He's there for 2 hours and 15 minutes. 14 minutes after he leaves, Chad sits down at his computer and sends a text message to his wife Tammy. The message reads, "I had an interesting morning. I spotted a big raccoon walking along the fence. I went and got my gun and put down some bait. I got him this time. I'll bury him in the pet cemetery." That text is now Exhibit 145 in the Idaho prosecution's case file. Chad Daybell wasn't writing about a raccoon. September 22nd, 2 weeks later. Lori's friend Melanie Gibb is visiting from Arizona. She sees JJ for the last time. He's in his Lightning McQueen pajamas. Cox carries him from the apartment that evening. The next morning, Lori tells Melanie that JJ is being a zombie, that Cox had to take him somewhere. JJ is 7 years old. Cox's phone, GPS, pings Chad Daybell's property again the following morning, 17 minutes this time. Whatever happens that morning happens fast. October 19th, Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife of 29 years, mother of his 5 children, is found dead in her bed. She's 49, healthy, active. The night before she died, she was at her son's football game. The family declines an autopsy. The local coroner, who has known the Daybells for years, signs the death certificate as natural causes. 17 days later, Chad and Lori get married on a beach in Hawaii. Lori wears white. Chad's children find out their father has remarried by seeing the photos online. Now stop. Pause with me. Because forensic psychiatry has a term for what Lori Vallow appears to be doing in this stretch of months. It's called shared psychotic disorder. The older name is folie à deux, French for the madness of two. It's when one person's delusions get adopted by a partner who's psychologically vulnerable to them. The dominant partner provides the framework. The submissive partner provides the action. The diagnosis is rare, like vanishingly rare in clinical literature. And here's the wrinkle. Every forensic psychiatrist who's looked at this case agrees that something like that was happening between Chad and Lori. But none of them agree on which one was the dominant partner. Some say Chad was the architect, Lori was the convert. Others say Lori found Chad, Lori chose Chad, and weaponized his theology to do what she was already going to do anyway. Hold that question, because we're about to need it. November 2019. Charles's family, his sister, his parents, his nieces and nephews have been screaming for months. Where are the kids? Why won't Lori let anyone see JJ? Where's Tylee? Lori tells the police the kids are with friends. She lies about which friends and gets caught in the lie. Her lawyer goes silent. She and Chad fly to Hawaii. 6 months go by. 6 months of investigators digging. 6 months of a country slowly learning the names Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. 6 months of a slow, awful realization that Tylee and JJ are not at a friend's house. They are not at summer camp. They are not, as Lori at one point claimed, with a trusted friend in another state. June 9th, 2020. Investigators serve a search warrant on Chad Daybell's property in Salem, Idaho. They start digging in the backyard. Tylee is found first. What's left of her fits in a single evidence container. The autopsy will later determine she had been dismembered and burned. JJ is found in a shallow grave 100 feet away. He's still wearing the red pajamas Melanie last saw him in. His hands are bound with duct tape. There's a plastic bag over his head. Tylee was 16. JJ was 7. They had been in those graves for 9 months. I'm not going to describe more than that. The facts have done enough work. Now, we arrive at the part of this case that makes it different from almost every other case I've covered. The part that has forensic psychiatrists arguing in journals to this day, because in 2021, the Idaho court orders Lori Vallow to undergo a competency evaluation. Standard procedure. The court psychiatrist sits down with her, asks her questions, watches her effect, reviews her history, and the doctor concludes she is not currently competent to stand trial. She is committed to a state mental health facility for restorative treatment. 10 months. They medicate her, they stabilize her, they restore her competency. Her formal diagnosis on record? 3 things. Delusional disorder, meaning a fixed false belief system that doesn't respond to evidence. Hyper-religiosity, religious belief at a clinically pathological intensity. An unspecified personality disorder with narcissistic features. In plain English, yes. She's mentally ill. It's documented, it's diagnosable, it's real. But here's what makes this case impossible to settle. Because the moment her competency is restored, the moment she is legally able to stand trial, her defense team prepares to use her mental illness as her defense. And Lori refuses. She tells her lawyers, on the record, no. She doesn't want an insanity defense. She doesn't want diminished capacity. She doesn't want the mental health argument made on her behalf at all. She wants to fight the charges on the facts. She wants to be acquitted, not committed. This is, forensically speaking, almost unheard of. Defendants who genuinely believe they were psychotic at the time of an offense almost universally allow the defense to argue it. Lori didn't. Why? The answer to that question is the entire case. May 2023, Idaho. After a 6-week trial, the jury convicts Lori Vallow Daybell on every count: murder of Tylee, murder of JJ, and conspiracy to murder Tammy Daybell. At sentencing, Judge Stephen Boyce looks at her and says, "You used religion to justify and rationalize the murders of your own children. Justified by yourself, defended by yourself, planned by yourself, and carried out by you." She doesn't react. She doesn't cry. She doesn't apologize. She is given 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. A year later, June 2024, Chad Daybell is convicted in a separate trial. The jury recommends death. He is currently sitting on Idaho's death row, but Idaho was just the opening act. Because in 2025, Arizona finally moves on the murder of Charles Vallow. Lori, facing capital trials, makes a decision that should have ended her. She fires her attorneys. She represents herself, pro SC, against an Arizona prosecution team in a capital case. With no legal training and no degree, it does not go well. But during her self-representation, and this is the moment I've been building toward, Lori delivers a closing argument that has been studied and restudied in forensic psychiatry circles ever since. Because in it, she utters one specific sentence I want to read to you exactly. She says, "If I were accountable for these crimes, I would acknowledge it and let you know how sorry I was." Read that sentence again, slowly. If I were accountable, conditional, hypothetical, I would acknowledge it. Future tense, detached from any present reality. How sorry I would be. Not how sorry I am. Not even a present tense feeling. She is constructing a sentence that contains the architectural shape of an apology, the bones of one, the silhouette of one, without ever once making the apology, without admitting the deaths happened, without admitting she had anything to do with them, without naming her children, without grieving them. She delivers that line in court with the affect of someone reading a weather report. The Arizona jury convicts her twice, 2 more life sentences. She is now serving 7 life sentences across 2 states, Chad's on death row. Tylee and JJ are gone. Tammy is gone. Charles is gone. She is 52 years old. She has, statistically, another 30 years of life ahead of her and will spend every one of them in prison. So what does this case actually reveal? 3 things. And the third one is the one nobody likes. 1, the answer to, was she sick or was she calculating, is yes, both. At the same time, the same brain. What forensic psychiatry is grappling with right now is whether our entire framework for criminal responsibility, built on a simple binary of knew it was wrong or didn't know, is even capable of describing what Lori Vallow is, because she fits neither category cleanly. She's not insane in the legal sense. She's not sane in the clinical sense. She's something the legal system doesn't have a name for yet. 2, apocalyptic religious extremism is not a fringe phenomenon anymore. The online community Lori was part of still exists. There are thousands of people in similar communities right now, watching the same videos, reading the same prophecies, getting their own ratings. The vast majority of them will never harm anyone. A small number, with the right personality structure and the wrong partner, might. And 3, the hard one. Lori Vallow Daybell had every chance to be stopped. Charles told the police, grandparents told the police, friends told the police, and Tammy's family told the police, after she died, that they were suspicious. Every single one of those reports went into a file. The file went into a drawer, and the drawer stayed closed until the children were already dead. Charles walked into that station in January 2019. 6 months later, he was dead. 3 months after that, Tylee. 2 weeks after that, JJ. A month after that, Tammy. 5 people in 10 months. After one warning. From a man who knew exactly what was coming and brought receipts to prove it. If this hit you the way it should, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the most disturbing thing about a case isn't what the killer did. It's how many people saw it coming, named it out loud, brought it to the people who could have stopped it, and how many drawers it sat in before anybody opened the file. This is the Forensic Dossier. See you in the next file.